Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Akila and today I'm going to be taking you through a flow that's going to be leading up to Mermaid Pose. So we're going to be doing a lot of heart opening today. We're also going to be opening up a lot into the outer hips and the IT band. For Pigeon Pose, we're going to be hopefully getting a lot of length in the front of the hips. So it's going to be a little bit more of a stretchy class today to work into that mermaid pose. So today I have 2 blocks for class. If you don't have blocks, that's okay. And just a heads up as well, this is going to be a little bit more of an advanced class, but I will be giving some more intermediate and beginner options along the way. So if you're not advanced, don't worry, try not to be deterred or intimidated by this class. I'm going to try my best to give as many options as I possibly can. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started. I have my blocks set up like a T, but you can also have your blocks set up like an equal sign if that feels more comfortable for you. So this is really just going to be a test for yourself to see what feels best. And if you don't have blocks, you can always just come to lay on the back. And when you come down onto your blocks, your mid back is going to come into contact with the first block. So if you have your block facing the other direction, it's going to come along your mid back around here. You're going to lay back onto the block, and then the second block is going to be supporting your head. So if you have the block the way I do, the skinny way, it should be supporting your spine here. And then the arms can fall out to the sides, legs can come either soles of the feet together, knees fall wide for a Supta Baddha Konasana, or you can extend the legs long. And at first, this may feel very stiff. So we're just going to stay here for a minute or two and just start to melt the shoulders over the blocks. Start to feel a gentle opening across the chest. And on the inhales, you might feel the points that are creating pressure on your back from the block. And on the exhales, maybe you try to release the back over the block. Imagining that there's a marble coming from the center of your chest that could roll down the front of your shoulder and all the way down your arm to the floor. And it may feel nice to find a little gentle movement. Navigating into some of the areas that might be a little bit stickier. And really being mindful here that you're letting your head fall heavy into the block. Not trying to strain the neck to support anywhere. And if at any point it gets a little bit too intense, you can always roll your way off the blocks. And take a few more breaths here. Inhaling deeply through the nose. Feeling a little bit of lightness at the top of the breath, a little pause before you let the exhale release, also through the nose. Keeping the lips sealed here. This is called Ujjayi breath. And on the next inhale, you can gently roll yourself off the blocks to one side. So if the knees were open to Supta Baddha Konasana, you can windshield wipe them over to one side and gently take your time to roll off the block into a fetal position. Then you can press your way up We're gonna find our way into a tabletop, so keeping your blocks handy at the top of the mat in case you need them. And we're gonna come into a tabletop position. Pressing the hands firmly into the mat, wrists are directly underneath of the shoulders, knees directly underneath of the hips. On the inhale, you're gonna drop the belly towards the floor, curl the tailbone up towards the sky, and then pull the chest forward and through. On the exhales, press into the hands, press into the tops of the feet as if the knees could hover, and round into the spine. Next, inhale, drops the belly, lifts the gaze, lifts the tailbone. Exhale, press into the tops of the feet and into the palms of the hands. Round the spine, look in towards the belly button. One more time, inhale, releasing the belly towards the floor. Chest opens. And exhale, curl in. Find the belly button with the gaze. Pressing firmly into the tops of the feet, into the hands, and maybe this time the knees come to a slight hover. And your next inhale, finding a neutral spine. On your next inhale, taking your left leg to extend long behind you, tucking the toes, and just take a little rock forward and back, stretching into the calf. Also, testing into the wrists. How far forward can you rock? One more breath here. And on your next exhale, you're going to take your left knee, cross it behind your right knee. And then from here, use that as a little leverage to come into a figure 4 position. You may have to readjust so that you're on the mat. But we're coming into this variation of your tabletop position where you're in a figure 4 with the legs. And just taking a little rock forward and back here. Feeling an opening into the outer right hip. Toes can be tucked here or not, whatever's more comfortable for you. The toes tucked can feel a little bit intense. And you can even take the hips in little circles. And the knee can be at any angle here, so if you need the knee to be a little bit less angled for it to feel better in the hips, feel free to experiment with that. How far into your external rotation can you go? And then from here we have a couple options. You can either uncross the legs and come into your first down dog. Or if you feel like you're prepared, you can tuck the left toes, press into the hands, and maybe you lift this entire shape into your downward facing dog. Any amount of bend into the left knee that you need to find length in the spine. And on your next exhale, unravel the right leg if you still have it crossed, and reach the leg up and back, finding a 3-legged dog. Take a few little circles with the ankle. Pressing firmly into the hands. And exhale, drop the right foot, finding a downward facing dog. Again, you could have just been in a down dog that whole time, so keep that in mind when we take it on the second side. If any of those options were too intense for you, too early. Take a few breaths here to settle. And on your next inhale, gaze comes forward, knees come to drop to tap the mat, coming into our tabletop position. This time, right leg sends back. And take a few rocks forward and back on the toes, stretching into the calf, opening up into the wrists. One more breath here to rock forward and back. And then we're going to cross the right knee behind the left knee And then keep the right shin as it is, and then slide the left leg into that figure 4 position. If you need to wiggle any little bit to get back onto the mat, you can. And again here, just taking some gentle movements, exploring the range of motion of that left hip joint. And these movements can be subtle and slow. It's really just an exploration for yourself. It doesn't have to look like anything specific. Maybe it's some circles. Maybe it's just a gentle rock forward and back. And the next time you exhale, you're going to tuck the toes and either uncross the leg to come into a regular down dog, or if you feel prepared, you can keep the figure 4 of the legs as you press the hips up and back into downward facing dog. And either holding your down dog as it is, or you extend the left leg up and back, finding a 3-legged dog. Taking some circles of the ankles. Opening up into the back of the right leg, into the shoulders. And on the exhale, both feet come to the mat, downward facing dog. Knees tap, tabletop position. We're going to build on this sequence and take it a little bit faster. So inhale, sends the left leg back. Take 1 rock forward and back, stretching the calf and the wrists. Exhale, cross the left knee behind the right and come into that figure 4 position. Any adjustments you need to get there. Inhaling here. Exhale, either coming into your regular down dog or keeping the cross of the legs for your figure 4 down dog. Inhaling here. Exhale, sending the right leg up and back for 3-legged dog. Bend into the knee, open the hip, and take a few circles with the right knee. 2 or 3 circles in each direction. And 1 more inhale here. Exhale, pull the right knee into the chest. Step the right foot through between the hands and drop the left knee to the mat. Interlace the fingers and bring that interlace of the fingers to the top of the right thigh, close to the knee. What I want us to try here is, with that interlace of the fingers, traction your right knee forward. So we're pressing down and forward with the hands. Inhaling deeply here. And exhale. Maybe you find your way a little bit deeper into the pose. So this tractioning of that right knee forward sometimes can help to free up a little bit of space in the front of the right hip. Especially early in class, it can be a lot of compression in the front of the hip. And we're just going to stay here for a few breaths. You have a couple options here. You can either stay as you are and just stay in the stretch, or you can start to bend into the left knee and contract the left hamstring, finding any amount of bend you can. So this is really opening up into the quad, but also engaging the hamstring, which we're going to need later for your mermaid pose. If you are trying this option, really make sure that you're far forward enough on the kneecap that it's not causing any discomfort on the kneecap. You can also add some extra padding under your knee if you have a pillow or a blanket nearby that you can use. And on the exhale, we're going to take the hands to frame the front foot, tuck the back toes. Inhale, lift the back knee. And then you can use your blocks if you'd like to, or you can just take the fingertips to the mat, and we're going to take the weight forward into the right foot. Step the left foot forward, finding a Malasana squat. So any amount of depth here that you need to. You might be very high up. You might be quite low, but we really want to make sure here that the knees are tracking over the toes and there's no caving in of the knees. We also want to make sure we're keeping as much length in the spine as possible. If your heels pop off the floor, that's okay. It's very normal. One more inhale here. Exhale, fingertips come to the mat and extend into the legs for a forward fold. Head falls heavy towards the ground. On your inhale, lengthening the spine, maybe the hands come to the shins. And exhale, bending the knees any amount that you need to plant the hands to the floor. Step the feet back, finding a plank pose. Here we want to imagine the fronts of the hip bones pulling up as if you have suspenders on, and they're pulling up the front and going over your shoulders and pulling down your back. One more inhale here. Exhale, tap the knees to the floor. Lower the chest down all the way to the floor. Inhale, untucking the toes, pressing gently into the palms of the hands, pulling the chest forward. So here in a low cobra, I really like to press the hands down and pull the palms of my hands towards the back of the mat. Really helps to engage the back. Inhale here. Exhale, lower the chest all the way to the floor. And we're just going to press back into our tabletop position. Taking that to the other side, inhale, right leg extends back. Exhale, we take one rock forward and back to stretch. Inhale, we stay. Exhale, cross the right knee behind the left knee and make your way into your figure four tabletop. Inhaling here. Exhale, tucking the right toes and then coming into a regular down dog or your downward facing dog with the figure four legs. Inhale, we unravel the leg and send it up and back for a three-legged dog. Exhale, bend into the knee and take a few circles in each direction. Next time you inhale, we meet through the center. Exhale, pull the left knee into the chest, step the foot through, finding your low lunge. Back knee drops. And we come up, using the interlace of the fingers to traction. Bringing that left knee forward any amount. Again, you have the option to bend and straighten into the right leg a few times, making sure we're on a point of the kneecap that is comfortable to do this. Maybe you add some extra cushioning there. Just really testing the strength of the hamstring as well as the opening of the quad. A lot of times I'll see people reach for the foot and they'll use the strength of their arm to pull the foot into the bum. But really we want to be able to have the strength to maintain that position without any external leverage. Next time you inhale, taking the fingertips to the mat or to your blocks, and we'll step forward, finding your Malasana squat. Inhaling here. And exhale, extend into the legs, head drops heavy towards the floor. Forward fold. Inhale, finding length in the spine. And exhale, bend any amount into the knees that you need to plant the hands. Step the feet back, finding your plank pose. Inhaling deeply through the nose here. Exhale, this time from the knees or from the toes, we lower chaturanga to a hover. And you can come to your cobra again, or if you feel ready, you can flip to the tops of the feet and pull through to an upward facing dog. So here, the tops of the feet and the hands are what is in contact with the floor. One more inhale here. Exhale, we lift the hips up and back, finding a downward facing dog. Next time you inhale, tapping the knees to the floor, finding your tabletop position. Inhale, the left leg extends back, finding your rock forward and back. Exhale, crossing the knee behind, coming into your figure 4 tabletop. Take an inhale here to find your bearings. Exhale, tucking the left toes, lifting the hips up and back, finding your figure 4 down dog. Again, regular down dog is always an option here. Unravel the leg, inhale, send it up and back for a 3-legged dog. Exhale, bend into the knee, open the hip, but try and keep the shoulders squared to the mat. Inhaling here. Option if you'd like to flip your dog. Coming into a wild thing. So the right toes can drop behind you. Left leg stays extended, and the shoulders pull up towards the ceiling. One more inhale here. Exhale, coming back the way you came, and lowering through a plank all the way down to the belly. Untucking the toes when you arrive there, and reaching the arms down by the side. Inhale, you're going to pull the chest from the floor, reach the arms back. Exhale, maybe you lift the legs as well. Really pulling the chest towards the front of the room, toes towards the back of the room. Squeezing into the glutes. One more breath here. And exhale, let everything come down to the floor. Plant the hands underneath of the shoulders. And press yourself back into your tabletop position. Straight into the second side. Inhale, right leg extends back. Take a rock. Exhale, cross the right leg behind the left, coming into your figure 4 tabletop. Inhaling here. Exhale, tucking the right toes, sending the hips up and back, finding your figure 4 downward facing dog. Inhale, unravel the leg. Send the left leg up and back for 3-legged dog. Inhaling here. Exhale, bend into the knees. Open up that hip, but shoulders stay square. Option to stay here, or option to flip over into your wild thing. So the left fingertips release from the mat. And the left toes reach behind you until they meet the floor. Inhaling here, chest pulls up towards the ceiling. And exhale, coming back the way you came. Coming through the plank. Lowering down to the belly. Untucking the toes, reaching the arms back. Inhale, pulls the chest up. Exhale, legs extend back. Next inhale, see if you can lift any amount higher. And exhale, lower everything down to the floor. Hands plant underneath the shoulders. And then press it back into a brief child's pose. Taking an opportunity here if you need to take a sip of water. . We're going to take one more flow here. And there's going to be some trickier options in here. Again, I will do my best to give you a step ladder. Provide some options that are a little bit more accessible. So just do the best that you can with it and try not to take yourself too seriously. Just see if you can have a bit of fun with it. Next inhale takes you through a tabletop position. Exhale, finding your alignment, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Inhale, send the left toes back. Exhale, cross the left knee behind the right, finding your way into your figure 4 tabletop. Inhaling here. Exhale, lift the hips up and back, finding your figure 4 downward facing dog. Inhale, unravel the leg, extend the right leg up and back. And exhale, bend into the knee, open the hip, shoulders stay square towards the mat. Option here to drop it into your wild thing. And if you're not dropping back into the wild thing, you're going to drop the knees and make your way to seated, facing the back of your mat. So if you're in your wild thing, from here you're going to drop the hips down, finding a seat. So here we've got our right foot planted, left leg extended. From here, a couple options. You can use the help of the hands to try and lift the hips. If this is too much compression in the front of the right hip, you can always cross over the ankles. And we're going to meet in a lunge with the right knee bent and the left leg extended to the back of the mat. If you want another option, you can come into a pistol squat, lifting the hips from the floor. And from here, send the chest forward, bend into the left leg, and send it back. So again, whichever journey you took to get there, we're meeting in a low lunge with the right leg forward, left leg extended back. Inhaling here. And exhale, we plant the hands to frame the front foot. Using the strength of the core, we're going to just pick up the right foot from the floor, finding this 3-legged plank variation. We're going to angle the shin on the exhale and place it down, coming into a pigeon pose. So, here is where hopefully some of the work that we have done to open up the chest, to build strength in the hamstring, to open up the outer hip. Hopefully some of that work has come in handy so that we can start to make our way into pigeon pose. So what we're going to start with is that bend of the hamstring. So pulling that heel in towards the torso. From here, maybe you can reach back, finding the inner foot with the palm of the hand. Now, if you're finding this a little bit wobbly and you're having a hard time, you can always put one of your blocks underneath of your right hip to sit on, because that will create a little bit of extra stability for you. So maybe you're here. Maybe you haven't quite made it here. But if you can't reach the foot, we're just going to try to bend the leg any amount that we can. So it could look like this. That's perfectly fine. It could just stay in pigeon and you're just trying your best to bend into the hamstring. So work with wherever you are. If If you'd like to take it a step further, maybe the elbow comes to the inner foot. And from here, if you feel balanced, you can take the right arm up and over, and maybe the hands meet, coming into the full expression of your mermaid pose. Inhaling deeply here, and exhale. As much as we can, we want to try and square the hips towards whatever wall is in front of you. One more breath here. And exhale, release with control. Probably more control than I just did. And we're going to plant the hands, lift the shin from the ground, and just step it back, finding a downward facing dog. You can pedal out the feet here. Inhaling deeply. Exhale, settle. One more inhale. And exhale, we drop the knees to the floor, finding your tabletop position. Next inhale takes your right leg back. Exhale, we cross the right leg behind the left and make your way into your figure 4 tabletop. Inhaling here. Exhale to tuck the toes, press into the hands and the right foot to lift the hips up and back for your figure 4 downward facing dog. Unravel the left leg and extend it up and back. Inhale, 3-legged dog. Exhale, we bend into the left knee. Hips can open, but shoulders try and keep their square to the floor. Now again, option to just come through your down dog and meet me in a seated position facing the old front of your mat. Or you can flip yourself all the way over for Wild Thing. Left toes reach towards the floor. Left arm reaches towards the wall in front of you. And exhale, let the hips drop, finding your seat. We all meet seated, facing the old front of your mat. So again, from here, options. You can use the hands to lift the hips through your pistol squat, or you can just cross over the legs and meet me in the low lunge. If you'd like the challenge, you can come through your pistol squat and try and thread that right leg through, finding your low lunge. From here, we plant the hands either side of the front foot on the inhale. On the exhale, we press firmly into the hands to pluck the left foot from the floor. Take that shin on an angle and put it down for your pigeon pose. And from here, keeping the torso upright in your pigeon pose. And again, we practice that bend and extend of the back leg. From here, if you can find enough of a bend into the hamstring to reach back and find the inner foot with the hand, you'll take it there. Option again to go further, you can take the elbow in to meet the foot. Final option is you can bind the hands. Left hand reaches up and overhead, meeting the right hand behind your head. Again, blocks under the hips can be a great use of the prop for stability. And if you're in the full expression of the pose, see if you can lift the chest up and over towards the ceiling. Next time you exhale, release. Planting the hands either side of the front leg, tucking the back toes, stepping it back, finding one last downward facing dog. Next time you inhale, just tap the knees to the floor, cross over the shins. And we're gonna meet reclined on the back. From here, you're gonna take the left knee in towards the chest, extend the right leg long. Feeling gravity, take that gentle compression in the front of the left hip. And on your exhale, taking that knee over to the right, finding a gentle twist. You can bring a block underneath the inner side of the left knee for a little bit of extra support if you need to. Left ear can fall towards the mat. And taking this shape back towards the center. And then extending the left leg, taking the right knee into the chest. Feeling a gentle compression in the front of the right hip. Letting gravity do a lot of the work here. And then taking that right knee to fall over to the left, coming into a twist. Gaze comes over to the right. Inhale, we pull back through the center. And hug both knees into the chest. And then we're going to come into a happy baby. So bringing the hands to the outer edges of the feet. If this isn't quite accessible to you just yet, then you can remain with the knees just hugged into the chest. Really trying to keep your low back pressing towards the floor. So if you find your bum lifting up and your low back releasing from the floor, see if you can try and draw it back down to the mat. And we're just going to do a little bit of a stretching exercise here. So on your inhales, I want you to press into the bottoms of your feet as if you're pressing your feet towards the ceiling, creating a lot of tension. And on the exhales, let it release. Maybe the knees drop a little bit closer to the mat. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, pressing the feet up towards the ceiling, into the hands, creating a lot of tension. And exhales, let that effort release. We'll take one last inhale to hug the knees into the chest. Maybe the nose curls up to meet the knees. And exhale, we'll take it into our final resting pose, Savasana. So for traditional Savasana doesn't feel nice, you can take any form of rest you'd like. You can take the Supta Baddha Konasana that we did at the beginning of class, with the soles of the feet together and the knees wide. And here, I'm just going to take a moment to leave you in silence, to enjoy your rest. So the last thing I will say before I leave you in silence is the goal of this final pose is to be as comfortable as you possibly can. So if for whatever reason this pose is not comfortable to you, if it's a little bit too vulnerable, you can always come to a child's pose or lay on the belly. You can put a blanket over you. But the objective here is total relaxation. So I'll leave you in silence here for a moment, and I'll call you back when it's time to go on to the rest of your day. And gently start to bring your awareness back to the room. And you can bring some gentle movements into your fingers and into your toes. Maybe give your head a shake, no, massaging the skull along the back of the mat. You can gently roll your way over into a fetal position or hug the knees into the chest and rock up to a seat. But when you do so, try and keep your eyes closed. Keep your focus inwards as you make your way to any comfortable seat that you'd like to. You can be seated on the shins or cross-legged. Hands can come to the thighs or they can meet at the heart. And we'll take one more deep intentional breath together in through the nose. Holding the breath at the top for a brief moment. And as you exhale, let the shoulders fall down and back. Sit bones heavy into the floor. And gently blink the eyes open. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I hope you enjoyed this class. I hope you got a good heart opening out of it. I hope you really got into the hips and the hamstrings. And please, if you do like this class, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and always leave comments if you'd like feedback or anything like that. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer. And I hope to see you again for my next video.